Hello and welcome to this episode of the Magnetic Woman Show. I'm your host, Lauren Joyce, and today I'm so excited and honored to be joined by Olivia Magdalena, who is a Magdalene Priestess, professional psychic, and somatic storyteller. She's a queer Afro-latina bruja who's always and forever deconstructing from organized religion and smashing the fuck out of the patriarchy, colonial systems of oppression through reclaiming the spiritual and somatic sovereignty. She is an academic by training and a mystic by nature. She's supported hundreds of women and femmes in their individual and collective healing journeys. And I just have to say that I have been like a longtime fan of hers as well. So I have been obsessed with her content around Mary Magdalene for a very long time. So I'm fangirling a little bit. But Olivia, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you started working with Mary Magdalene, how you became a Magdalene priestess?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I often say in my life there's before Mary Magdalene and there's after. And I
100%.
think so many of us can resonate with that. Like whatever type of moment we had, that was just like this tower moment of discovery and of this like crazy awakening, for lack of a better word, or maybe a deepening is maybe
Yeah.
the way that I might say it. I stumbled on Mary Magdalene Revealed when I was living in New York City, working in ad tech, had this very cushy Soho job that was like super cool, and I was super bored every single day. I loved my coworkers, I loved all of that. But I had sort of started the spiritual journey via like Gabby Bernstein and Marianne Williamson and just like
Mhm.
kind of started to get in the space, I guess, but I didn't really know what was for me.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just like one day downloaded Mary Magdalene Revealed. I don't even remember much more than like seeing a red cover on my Audible and the name Mary Magdalene and being like, oh, I always liked her.
Cool.
Let's see what this is.
Mhm.
I'm like sitting at my desk listening to Megan Watterson, and I am like having these full body like tears, just like anger, just like all this like realization.
Mhm.
And that just really started me down this path of spiritual reclamation and really connecting into the role that Mary Magdalene has played not only in my life, but also how I see her emerging for us all, especially those of us who are deconstructing, leaving organized religion, and still have felt this like compulsion towards our spiritual practices and
Yeah.
also looking at the world that we're living in and going, well, where do I fit in the revolution? Like, where do I fit in the reclamation? And what is my role? And
Yeah.
how Mary Magdalene can like really be this incredible bridge, both of information gathering and of like somatic sovereignty and of like, okay, where do I find myself in the world? So
Yeah.
that's sort of where I found that, and then moved home at the start of COVID for 2 weeks. Been in Northern Virginia ever since.
Yep.
Stumbled on a priestess training, a Mary Magdalene Rose lineage initiation, and I was like, I think I'm supposed to do that.
Yep.
And then spent a few years in like really deep study with my mentor. At the same time, I was doing yoga teacher certifications as well as like somatic trauma resolution certifications. For me, it's always come through the body.
Yep.
So all of this coalescing, and now it's the work that I do in the world is to help train and initiate priestesses. It's to talk about Mary Magdalene on the internet,
Uh-huh.
which is like this fun happenstance thing that happened that I just was one day like, let me just throw up this video and have never looked back.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's sort of the Manny Jen
I love it.
mercurial way that things have fallen into place for me.
I feel like there's so much commonality in every woman's journey with Mary Magdalene. Like it's
Mhm.
different shades of the same color. Like when I first, because I grew up Catholic, I went through 10 years of Catholic school, right? So in the 90s and early 2000s, I very much learned Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, which is
Mhm.
weird because the church repealed that in the 60s, So we're like, okay, so we're still teaching that. Cool, cool, cool. So when
Mhm.
the book that cracked me open was The Return of Divine Sophia.
Oh yeah. Oh
Uh-huh. And I started reading it and I was like, oh, okay, a priestess, whatever. And then it was like Mary Magdalene was a priestess. And I was like, my mind's like, absolutely not. My body's like 1,000,000%, and then it's like, yeah, she was an initiate of Isis and a sacred sexual priestess. And it was like, and I remember because I was traveling, I was in San Diego, and I remember I was raging and crying and like relief and excitement. And I was like, how can one book, one concept really bring up every human emotion in
yes.
me and like every human emotion for my entire lineage?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then, of course, there's like these beautiful rose petals that she always leads for us. And I truly believe, and I would love your thoughts, but I feel like, she is so present right now. She is calling to so many women. And
Mhm.
I believe that we each have such a unique embodiment and expression of the Magdalene lineage that we're meant to bring forth. And it's like through that unique expression collectively that is the revolution.
I mean, I would like full body chills
Yeah.
all over everywhere.
Yeah.
So true and so resonant. And like, I just remember listening, right, to this book. I like had to put it down while I was at work. I was like, I'm
Oh,
not
of
able
course.
to do my job
Yeah.
if I am listening and having all of these emergences come through me. And I also was raised Catholic. So I was also like, wait,
Hmm.
what?
Hmm.
And it's been such a gift to be a support in people's journey with Mary Magdalene because I do see that so vividly of how we're all meant to embody something unique about the lineage and how there's so much of her that's this like shape shifty can sort of find these different like Mary Magdalene the priestess, Mary Magdalene the activist, Mary Magdalene the like I don't know, the kimonos, like the soul partner, like right, there's all these different facets to her.
Hmm.
And so we're all meant to find this like unique embodied expression of
Yeah.
this incredible teaching, this incredible like conscious awareness that's like lived inside of us and has been waiting for
Right.
us to understand that that's what's been there the whole time.
Yes. And I'm curious what you think about, because this is something that I have struggled with in the past, and I feel like it comes up a lot in conversation about Mary Magdalene because again, going through Catholic school, I'm a woman who loves to learn. Like when I was in high school, I was like, I think I want to be a professor because I just want to be constantly learning, and in my
Yeah.
mind, at that point, that was the only way to do it. And so I find that a lot of people who talk about Mary Magdalene, teach about Mary Magdalene, kind of just put Christianity framework onto Mary Magdalene, right? This like organized
Mhm.
religion, patriarchal religion framework onto her. And simultaneously, there seems to often be this sense of like, well, this is the correct way. This is the historical,
Mhm.
interpretation of her. And I was
Mhm.
having this conversation with a friend recently because she also teaches about Mary Magdalene, and people were like, what you're saying isn't historically accurate. And I was like, what is more like probable that the insecure misogynistic men who wrote the history, their interpretation is correct, or our embodied wisdom and the like intuitive nudges that we're receiving as women is correct. So I'm curious for you, like, how do you kind of navigate the historical, sometimes even religious framework that's placed on her
Mhm.
with your deconstructed,
Mhm.
embodied wisdom?
Mhm. That's such a beautiful question. And I totally resonate with this. I don't even know if it's friction, but it is this sort of like, but
Yeah.
like, I always think of the Audre Lorde quote that the master's tools will not dismantle the master's house.
Oh,
And so if
yeah.
if we're, oh my God, I just almost like threw up a little bit as I said that.
I got chills.
Like,
So
I was like, oh my God. But like, we can't, like, biblical literalism was never going to save us.
yeah,
Biblical literalism was never, and is not the intention of a text like the Bible or
right,
like the Lost Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
right.
History is entirely subjective and it is crafted by the colonial oppressive empires that want to feed us the narrative that will most benefit them.
Mm-hmm.
And another Audre Lorde quote is coming through. It's like and this was what I used for my master's thesis because I also wanted to be a professor. We're all so smart, all of us Magdalens. Not that you
Oh,
need a master's degree to be smart, but like we're all these
we've
like
always been so
gracious,
hungry.
like yes, we're like so hungry, and we're also so like, where is it? But it's like the mother within us, the black. It's like, oh, what is it? The white father says, "I think, therefore I am." And then I might not have this exact part, but it's like the black mother within us says, "I feel, therefore I can be free."
Oof.
And if we think back to like, I'm pretty sure it's Gospel of Philip that's like telling us to resurrect in this life. And that in the Gospel of Mary, we're hearing like, acquire my peace within yourselves. If we're looking at the whole picture,
Yep.
and if we're understanding that we live in the result of a colonial
Yeah.
capitalistic framework,
Yeah.
policing each other's interpretations of things and minimizing the impact of like an internal recognition is
Uh-huh.
not getting us anywhere.
Exactly. And we have to think about the fact that even, and this is like one thing that I love learning about, and then it equally enrages me. It's like a lot of what we know, or a lot of what we've been taught about spirituality, even
Mhm.
about like ancient stories, is from men. It is from male historians. It is from male archaeologists, and typically white males, the colonial powers that be. And it always reminds me of this story, and I don't even know if this story is true because I just feel like it gets floated around where like a team of male archaeologists found like a 28-day marking and somebody was like, "Oh, that's a calendar." And they're like, "That couldn't be a calendar." And it's like, yeah, yeah, like who else would be marking time but a woman with her menstrual cycle? And so I think that there has to be the historical information is so powerful. And
Mhm.
especially for those of us who are raised religious, who have a
Mhm.
lot of religious conditioning, because there is a recognition of, yes, she was a woman.
Mhm.
Yes, I always like to call her Jesus's sugar mama because she funded him.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God, I love that framing because so true.
let's go. My friend today was like, I think Jesus was the original freeloading man. Like, what? And I was like,
I have this vision, baby. I have this vision. Help me out. Help me
but I
out.
don't have the money. Just like let me live with you and just will you pay for my meals with my friends?
Yeah, you have an apartment. I kind of need a place to sleep. Like,
I want to have 12 guys over. Will you pay for our meal? Like, I mean, and not far off, right? Not much has changed in 2000 years. And the fact that just even though Catholicism, Christianity wanted to discount, discredit her, hide her significance, they couldn't. Like she's always been central to the resurrection story.
mhm,
So we have all of that, which I think can be so comforting, so freeing, so like, oh, okay, we're not just these like crazy, like making things up.
yeah.
And I have found the more that I have deconstructed religion, deconstructed patriarchy, really looked at colonialism and capitalism and really like pulling things apart, the more personally I'm like, I think she was the brains behind the whole fucking thing and he was just the mouthpiece. Like I actually think there's so much more to uncover in her spiritual leadership
Mhm.
than in his. I
Mhm.
think it was just like, well, it's Rome, so we got to have a male mouthpiece, but she's like the one
Yeah.
doing all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And I think that there's, the divine feminine really does live within the in between, right? And like it's what's hidden in plain sight. It's the archetype of the priestess is that which lives within the subconscious. And so we carry, all this epigenetic memory, all of these pieces from our lineages that get passed down in various ways, right? Like when I think about my Catholicism and I think about how I will always celebrate Christmas and I will always celebrate Noche Buena because
Uh-huh.
that is one of the traditions from my Cuban lineage is that is so alive.
Yeah,
And one of the ways that I can be connected to that part
absolutely.
of my life. And so to me, if we can understand how the divine feminine has had to hide in plain sight because of a colonialist, capitalist, patriarchal world order.
Yeah.
We also can open up to the possibility, to the probability that a figure who was so central to a story that she could not be erased, that
Yes.
the story does not exist without her.
This.
No
There
matter
is this.
how many times you tell it, no matter which way you try to move it through, no matter how much people are like, well, it's the Gospel of John, but we can't listen to the Gospel of Mary because it was a couple hundred years. I'm like, so was the Gospel of John, you guys. Like, come on, like, come
I
on.
know. I
But
know.
we can't erase it because she's
Yeah.
right there. And so if we really think about it from an expansive point of view, and a lot of what I studied in school was what was hidden and the marginalized
I love
stories
that.
and the stories that were not considered literary canon.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, who made it up?
The men
Who
in power. We're like, what's going to
exactly?
help us?
Why am I gonna listen to that shit? Why am I
Exactly.
gonna? I already lost 20 years of my life. I didn't lose it, but 20 years of my life were shaped by that.
Uh-huh.
No more time in this
Yeah,
lifetime will be deferential
I know.
to whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, like, whenever I teach about Mary Magdalene, whenever I start talking about Mary Magdalene in like more solo content, I always start with the history of the church because I'm like, you have to understand that all of this was shaped by men wanting to maintain the power structure of Rome.
Mhm.
Like, that is what this comes down to. It comes down to the fact that this spiritual sect
Mhm.
was blossoming and it scared Rome. And they're like, well, how do we get control of this? We'll just take control of it
Mhm.
and we'll choose what to believe, what to read in terms of these spiritual texts. And we don't want women in power, so we're not going to pick anything that says women should be in power. Like, surprise, surprise. And it's so interesting because I think for me too, over the last few years, I've done a lot of work. If you can hear my dogs in the background, I'm sorry.
Oh, I can't.
Okay.
But
Okay,
that's
good.
always that's a nudge from the dark goddess for me always when the dogs get I'm like, oh, Hekate's here. I'm like, all
Oh,
right.
100. I mean, they were like all passed out in the other room. So like, but whatever, is out there, a bunny or a deer right now, here we are. But in for me, a lot over the last few years has been like ancestral spiritual reclamation work. So really looking at my lineages,
Mhm.
mainly Irish, Celtic, and Southern Italian, and being like, what was the spirituality like prior to Christianity? What were they doing? And then how did Catholicism for both places, how did Catholicism kind of weave into those things? So when you're saying like, oh yeah, I'm always going to celebrate Christmas because it's this
Mhm.
connection and anchor point. Similarly, especially with Southern Italians, it's like Catholicism and ancestral magic and wisdom is just still so woven together.
Mhm.
And it's so, I think at first, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, when I first started deconstructing, I was like, all things Catholicism, like, fuck it all. And now I'm like, ooh, who are my favorite saints? Like, because there's, especially for me, I've been really sitting with this concept of like, I think a lot of the female saints were priestesses, but that wasn't an option. The only option was to become a nun and then, basically. So I'm like, who are these women in that spiritual lineage of like female mystic, female priestess? Like, oh, I like that. I've always liked that saint, or I used to pray to that saint, and kind of like bringing, ironically, more Catholic things in.
Yeah.
But then similarly to what you're saying, it's like, and that's what my ancestors did. So there's this like lineage anchor point there. So I'm curious for you when you first started deconstructing and like are finding out about Mary Magdalene, did you also reject all of it and like kind of boomerang back around, or what was that process like for you?
For me, I had rejected a lot of it already because I was like not able to really reconcile like what I was hearing in
Yeah.
church around things like abortion and queer rights and like all these things. I was like, I can't
Yeah.
do this. And so I was like feeling really lost because I now recognize like such a spiritual and intuitive child. And so finding my way back to Mary Magdalene felt like this incredible exhale because I was able to begin this process of really understanding that all of the instincts that I had and all of the things that I felt as a child were true.
Yeah.
I just needed to walk away so that I could learn the names that I didn't recognize and get the context that I didn't fully have.
Yeah.
And I say, like, everything I learned and most of what I know about being a priestess, I learned from being Catholic.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I went to a Catholic school.
Yes.
I was confirmed Joan of Arc is my patron saint. She is
Mine's Rose.
yeah, like so I just like I wear rosary beads all the time again. Like I can go into um churches like in the south of France where Mary Magdalene's grotto is that are upkept by like Dominican friars and like I can feel that reverence and I can understand and sense psychically and somatically
Yeah.
what that presence that was there in the statue of Mother Mary, in the devotion to her, in the devotion and the veneration of the various saints. Like
Absolutely.
I can understand all of that now,
Yeah.
and I can reclaim the pieces that serve me and
Yes.
release the bullshit
That
that
doesn't.
doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's really important to like remember and recognize that when Catholicism was created, it was formed out of the Roman Empire, which
Right.
was polytheistic. So there were already priestesses, there
Mhm.
were already goddesses. There was already, I mean, Rome was a very like spiritual religious society. Like there was a god and goddess for everything. People were
Mhm.
constantly making offerings. So they just took all of these ancient spiritual practices and like superseded it into the church. And so it's like, yeah, of course, the different rituals during mass, different rituals of prayer, different rituals of veneration and
Mhm.
remembrance. Of course, they feel so natural to us because I think that they are just innate in
Mhm.
us as humans. Like,
Yes.
and so I, excuse me, I love that. And I've been in that space as well where it's like, wait, I'm now finding myself back with Catholicism and being like cherry picking the pieces of like, oh, I actually always used to like that. And now I see why. Now I understand why. And so I'm just going to take that back for me. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
am going to leave the whole like, women need to obey men stuff there. Like, no,
Yeah.
thank you. I'll keep moving
Yeah.
on. But I
Yeah.
think you know, and that's one of the things I've found with working with Mary Magdalene, being a Magdalene priestess, is this continual evolution of becoming, this
Mhm.
continual deepening into who you are, absolutely, deepening in embodiment, but like, you know, I think one thing, and I would love to hear some of the things that, you know, being a Magdalene priestess has really taught you. I think for me, one thing is like really knowing that it is a continual process of becoming. There is no arrival. And that's the whole point, you know? Like, and I say this often too when people ask me, because I'm at this point in my life, and this is how I say it. I do not want to have kids. I don't see myself having kids. But I'm not going to say never because I know that like life is going to life and I don't know what is going to happen in my life or what twists and turns it will take. And I
Mm.
signed up to be a Magdalene priestess apparently way before I agreed.
Yeah,
I agreed to this shit, you
yeah.
know, during the fucking rise of fascism as well.
Uh-huh.
Like, let's talk about overachievers.
Yeah.
We're like, let's not do this easy. Um, but that it's it's a continual process of becoming, and that is the divine.
Hmm.
So I would love from you, like, what have been some of the, not the most important things, I think it's all important, but I guess like what are some of the things that like rise to the top when you think about what it means to you to be a Magdalene priestess? I know it was a big one.
It is a big one. And I'm also like really receiving all the beautiful things you just said and just like feeling there's like, I mean, literally, I know I'm like chills everywhere. I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh
same,
my gosh. It's like
same.
the recognition and just like it's just so profound. I think being a Magdalene priestess has really helped me make sense of myself
Mm,
and of the sensitivities, of the intuition, of the body, of the various initiations that I've had in life, right? Because I
yeah,
tell people often, I'm like, your life is the initiation.
yes.
You just decide if you want to step through a threshold of like a specific type of ordination, but like the ordination is everywhere and it's all of the things. And I had really believed that I was going to be a professor and that I was going to teach and sit in circles and all these pieces. And so when I graduated my master's program and realized that I did not want to do that, I really was like adrift for like most of my 20s. I was working, I was doing things, but I didn't know really where I fit and I would be in certain places and feel a resonance but also feel like I knew it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so to be a Magdalene priestess, to have this like not only devotion to evolution, to helping move like the divine story forward, as Megan Watterson beautifully
Yeah.
articulated, but it's also to understand. It felt like when I realized I was queer that I was like, oh, is that what that is?
Uh-huh.
That's that thing that's been there the whole time that I haven't known what it was because I didn't understand pleasure and I didn't understand desire, right? Like with the Magdalene, it feels like the similar sense of like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, that's what this has all been correlating into. This is how I can help make sense of myself in the world. And also how I can support the
Mhm.
collective
Yeah.
and my role in all of this.
Mm.
That like gift of, oh, this is why I came back
Yeah.
is really profound and is really like just like such a gift that I sometimes am like, whoa, for me, because I don't really know. And I don't like talking to people sometimes. And I have human this and I have human that, right? Like all these pieces.
Yeah.
And having this like exhale of like, oh, all that devotion that I felt as a child, that makes sense here. The way that my neurodivergence exists, that exists here. My lived identities, and it also has
Yeah.
been a bridge for me that you shared as well into my ancestral
Yes.
practices and reclaiming
Yes.
practices like hoodoo, like Santeria, that I hold very close to my heart because
Yes.
of my ancestral closed
Yeah.
practices that I work through.
Yes.
And I also still get to like do the Mary Magdalene thing as
Uh-huh.
this like beautiful bridge slash shield slash way for things to exist in the world. And I get to be in my own personal reclamation of that which was like hidden and stolen from my people and
Yeah,
take that back. And I see that in so many of us. It's like the Magdalene is this
absolutely.
bridge back into our personal lineages and
Absolutely.
how that we get to heal and work
Absolutely.
with and tap into
Ugh.
the lineages of priestesses
Yeah.
and psychics and intuitives who could not express, who could not,
Yes.
right? So it's all that and also like the big thing you can only feel but you can't quite name.
Yeah, 100%. Oh my God, I love all of that. So I know you've been as well to southern France
Mhm.
and talking about the big thing that you can feel and not name. I'm curious what was your experience there? Because I led a retreat there as well, and I
Mhm.
think there's just so much there. So I'm just curious.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I am actually, I'm leading a pilgrimage this fall.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is my first time like taking people. I mean, I've gone with like friends. I've like grabbed friends and been like, we gotta go.
Absolutely.
Because there was this like I just was so I've never been so compelled to a place.
Yes.
I have the coordinates now tattooed on my I was like, that is the place where I
I love
need to go and be.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to be
Amazing.
supporting this pilgrimage in the fall. Um, oh my gosh, what did it feel like? The first time I went in search of the Cave of Eggs, but I
Mhm.
didn't find it.
Yeah.
And I had this breakdown because I was like, who am I to call myself a Magdalene
Yep,
Priestess?
yep.
In this goddamn cave, and I'm my friends with me, and we're like all the things.
Uh-huh.
But for me, the initiation that day was the mountain. And
Uh-huh.
it was also going to mass because we stumbled on a mass in the
Math. Yeah.
grotto. And it was super simple.
Yeah.
Did you experience it when you went there?
Uh-huh. Well, we didn't stay for the whole mass. We just stayed for the beginning part.
Mhm.
And I didn't know there was a mass. And so when I had booked this and I like, had a driver and we had a guide, we got to the bottom of the mountain like 20 minutes before mass was about to start.
Mhm.
And this is a mountain, people. And
Oh, it's a
the
mountain.
guide is like, yeah, if we don't get there before mass starts, like we can't go in.
Mhm.
We got there with 9 minutes to spare. So similar, I'm like, how can I call myself a Magdalene priestess if I like can't even get this right? So we have like 9 minutes to see this place.
That's crazy that you got up there that quickly because
Oh,
that is
I was
really,
like
yeah, that is like,
sweating.
yeah, oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's its own initiation climbing up there. Yeah, and so it was like the mass was so powerful. We ended up staying for the whole thing, and I felt okay. And
Tell me, yeah.
like you feel me. I've done now been in I've done two masses there. This was the
Okay.
first year. I felt the transubstantiation happen. Like I felt that
Wow.
it was Magdalene and it was different. And the
Hmm.
first priest, he was like really lighthearted and he like left the doors open so people could come in and out. Like he was and
Yeah.
didn't know what he was saying, but he was laughing. And it was like as the mass went on, the temperature dropped and we could like see our breath. And
Wow.
I just felt her. And we also stumbled on the
Yeah.
mouse. I did not know it was happening. But when he did the transubstantiation, I was like, I like felt whatever was the
Wow.
alchemy that was happening.
Yeah.
It, it felt like it was coming from like life force. It felt like it was coming from like the earth around, as opposed to like the second time I went, the priest closed the door and he was very grumpy. He was very like Cogsworth from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like he was very, and people kept coming in and out, and he was like, "Oh," so he'd be like saying something, he'd be like, "Oh," he
And
was
they're
like,
French, by the way.
"Oh,
So
yeah."
it's like,
Such a French diva priest.
yeah.
And when he did the transubstantiation, I felt it, but I felt it pull from me and
Interesting.
like, from us as like the living beings,
Yeah.
as opposed to when the door had been opened the previous year. And I felt this like more alchemical, like earth-based
Yeah. Yeah.
transformation happen. But anyways, all of that to say, it was deeply beyond words
Yeah.
healing to
Yeah.
see her, to hear everyone invoke her name, to get like the candles to light with like her iconography on it. And like really the day that I didn't find the Cave of Eggs was this like initiatory
Of
day.
course.
With
Yeah.
the mountain, I was like climbing up something and I like scraped my arm and I was like, I'm giving a blood offering, I guess. Like it was just this crazy day.
Yeah.
And we had like one day to do it because I'd been in
Of
South
course.
Africa for a wedding. And then we went to St. Baum. And I will say that for me, and I know people had different experiences of this, the cathedral that's there, I didn't really feel her there. I felt her on the mountain. I
Yeah.
felt her in the grotto. Um, and it was so powerful to like walk down this street and see like this Mary Magdalene shop and this
Yeah.
Mary Magdalene shop. And it was just this like, and everybody's like, yeah, of course, you're
Of
here to see
course.
Magdalene.
Yeah. It when I went and I and led the retreat for the first, I've led a retreat once there. I had booked us a hotel in Aix-en-Provence,
Yeah.
and I prior to had like certain. So I think really quick, just to summarize, going to southern France for Mary Magdalene pilgrimage is an initiation. It is like an initiation after initiation after initiation, moment after moment after moment, right? And it is in all of southern France, right? Like it is, yes,
Mhm.
where her cave is, the grotto is, yes, where the basilica is. I stayed in Aix, which is like a 40-minute drive away. And I went down to the hotel, to the front desk, and I was like, do you know anybody that can like help me with this? Because I haven't booked a driver. And I was so nervous. I'm like, they're gonna think I'm some crazy nut job Christian who's
Mhm.
like, and I was like, I want to go to the Mary Magdalene cave. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, hold on.
Mhm.
Call
Yeah.
someone like, yeah, okay, everything's ready and booked. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So that was so, like you said, so beautiful, such a reclamation in and of itself to just see her everywhere and everybody just like, yeah, Mary
Yeah.
Magdalene, obviously, of course.
Yeah. Of course. No, no questions asked. Like I remember we were in Marseille and we went to this restaurant and they had this like Mary Magdalene rosé. Like it was just like crazy. I was like, what is this
Yeah,
thing?
it's like a whole other
Oh,
world.
it's like a whole like Provence is like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with the rest of the world,
Yeah,
but that's our girl. And that's always been our girl.
100%. And so I do want to be conscious of the time. I know you and I could talk for hours and hours. And again, just to summarize that piece, like if you feel pulled to go to Southern France, Olivia's leading a retreat there. I'm leading a retreat there. There's tons of other retreats. You can go by yourself. But
Mhm.
if you feel compelled, there is a reason. And there is so much wisdom, so much
Mhm.
initiation, so much embodiment really available there. And probably not in the way you think, because at least that was my experience. I was like, this
Oh
is
my
how I
gosh.
want it to go. And then it was like, this is how it's going. Exactly the opposite. Um,
Yes.
so I will make sure to put Olivia's retreat down below in the show notes as well. But Olivia, as we wrap up this incredible conversation, is there anything left on your heart, anything like coming up for you that you want to leave the audience with?
I feel so grateful to be talking to you today. We talked about this a little bit before we started the call. It's been a few years of feeling a bit isolated in kind of like the spiritual entrepreneurship space, in the sort of like, even within the Magdalene spaces, there's some weird alt-right pipeline rose lineage shit that can happen.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really moving and heartening to just be able to like have this conversation. And I think what I feel so clear about is one, we're all always hiding in plain sight. We're closer than we think to her, to each other, to the lineage. And if you feel compelled to this path, like it's because it's already in you. People will sometimes be like,
Oh,
Olivia, how do I know if Mary Magdalene's reaching out to me? I was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but people who aren't being reached out to by Mary Magdalene don't
are
find Magdalene
wondering.
Priestesses on the internet and say, hey, do you think she's talking to me? And I say that with like infinite love. Like, if
Totally.
asking, the
Yeah.
answer is yes. And like you have a unique embodiment. And I know that there is also this really beautiful opportunity for healing
Yeah.
amongst us because it could be so easy for us to be like, well, I'm the Magdalene Priestess or I'm the
Uh-huh.
Magdalene Priestess. This is like, oh my God, wait, no, now I have a new friend and like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we're aligned politically and we're aligned in all these other
Yes.
ways. So like, holy shit. And like, you're also worried about like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I don't want people to think I'm like a crazy Christian, but like, I am really devoted to Mary Magdalene, right? Like, and so it's just really, like I just always think about this, the ending of Mary Magdalene Revealed, where Megan Watterson talks about sitting in circles and
Yeah.
sharing about Mary Magdalene. And I remember being so moved by the way she worded, just like, you are as much of an expert. Oh my God, I'm like starting to get a little emotional, but like you are just as much of an expert on Mary Magdalene as I am. And
Absolutely.
I think that's where the like deconstruction and the decolonization piece can come in because like none of us hold absolute
Yeah.
solo truth. There is no doctrine, there is no
Yes.
dogma.
Yes.
And if it's calling to you, it's because it's already alive inside of you and it's asking to be remembered. It's asking to be reclaimed. And like we are
Yeah.
we're just like we're all in it together. Like to not be so, but like we're
Yes.
no more experts than the other, than
Yes.
anyone who's watching this. And we have unique special interest areas that
Yes.
we all get to come together and be like, well, this is the thing about this I'm really obsessed with, and
Yes.
this is the thing about this that I'm really obsessed with. And like
So,
that's like a very matriarchal, like information is meant to be shared. No one has a monopoly on God. Nobody has a monopoly on truth.
yes. Yes.
And we all feel this deep truth within us that can be felt but not named. And that's how you know that it's what's true.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I'm hosting the Salon series. And the first one, so if you were here for the Embodied Feminine Leadership Revolution, there were panel discussions, which is what birthed what I'm calling the Salon series. So the Salon series will be panel discussion asks experiences with like 4 to 5 experts, and we're picking specific topics. So topic number one is the red sexy heretic, none other than Mary Magdalene, and Olivia is one of the incredible experts. And we were talking before this event, which is free by the way, the link's down below, themagneticwoman.com/salon. It really is this like council feeling, like we're all coming in to the table together on equal footing, and each and every one of us has a unique embodiment, a unique transmission of Mary Magdalene. We have different specialties. We have, two of the women work more with like Queen of the Underworld, Dark Goddess, like death aspect of the death and rebirth process. You, Kim, me, we also have the more like academic pieces that we bring in together. Like, so it is going to be so incredible. So if you get a chance, sign up down below. Um, and make sure to follow Olivia on social media everywhere. All of her social handles are down below. That's how I found her. As I said, I've been a fan for longtime fan, first time interviewer, and I am just obsessed with her. Her content's incredible. You will love it. Olivia, thank you so, so much for being here. This was amazing.
It was so amazing, Lauren. Thank you for organizing and just being like the brains behind the whole thing and being like, let's all sit together. And so I'm really excited. I'm really excited. And
Yeah, my
just
pleasure.
like, yay! More,
Yay!
more evolution, more
Yes,
belonging, more remembering, just more and more
yes.
and more and more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and bringing those of us together who, I mean, Mary Magdalene's like my favorite topic. So the more women that we have that we can chat with about her, the better. So thank you all so much for being here for this incredible episode, and I will see you all very soon.